Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and today we're going to be taking a look inside Ultimate Spider-Man number 2 from Jonathan Hickman, Marco Checchetto, and Matthew Wilson. That's right, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the video. Thank you so much for checking us out. Today, we're going to be flipping inside this Ultimate Spider-Man number 2. Now, we've already gone through issue number 1, so if you missed that video, go and check it out. We've also done a few of these top-down, bottoms-up videos, but Ultimate Spider-Man's been making waves, and it's selling incredibly well. It's selling well at my shop, it's selling well at other shops, it's causing people to start talking about it, it's getting word of mouth, it's spreading. Each issue keeps selling more and more. It's, along with things like the Energon universe, it's really helping elevate certain things to a new level of excitement in the comic book industry, because let's be honest, new comics has been kind of lackluster for a little bit now, and it's nice to see things get excited again, to have some of that water cooler talk, right? So I decided, let's go through these Ultimate Spider-Man books to see what it is about them that makes them work. And now, we already did the first issue, which set up the whole idea of the Maker. He's gone into another reality, right? He has manipulated time and events and circumstances to the point where there are no superheroes in this universe. And he set up like this secret cabal to divide up the world and run it, right? And so Tony Stark and a few others are starting like kind of a rebellion to this, right? And they're trying to have these superheroes that this planet, this universe is supposed to have, and bring them in. So in the first issue, Peter Parker at age 35 with a wife and 2 kids, he gets given the opportunity by Tony Stark to take the choice to be bitten by the spider and become Spider-Man. He takes the choice, and now this book is basically a month later. Great cover from Marco Checchetto. My favorite of all of the Ultimate Spider-Man covers so far. You got Green Goblin, you got Spidey, and you got Peter Parker. Really cool design, too, that they have for all of these books. One of the things about the original Ultimate books that were spearheaded by Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Miller and Adam Kubert and Mark Bagley, right? And Brian Hitch. One of the things is they all had a trade dress that was similar. So you could tell the Ultimate books apart, right? They had a certain aesthetic, they had a certain look, and part of that was the cover design. So a great cover here. Let's dive into it. A little bit of a recap page, just telling you what's been going on and what's up in this reality. Ben Parker is still alive, but Aunt May did die from some of the events in the Ultimate Invasion book. Now, one of the things about these books is that each issue covers a month. It's not showing you everything that happens in that month, but each issue is kind of chunked out by month. So the first issue of Ultimate Spider-Man was January, and the second issue is February. Now, I did notice, rereading the first issue in preparation for this, that Tony Stark says he's sending a message to Peter from 6 months into the future. So that means after the first arc of Spider-Man, we get caught up to where Tony Stark is. Maybe they will meet. So at this point, this suit, this techno crazy suit that Tony Stark has given Peter, he hasn't quite figured out, colors or a brand or anything like that. So he's just kind of basically black costume, but I love the way it looks. I love the way that Checchetto's doing the webbing there. The suit has this textured look that I really like. So it starts off, Peter Parker's swinging around. He's learning how to be Spider-Man. He's talking about it. He's enjoying it. And then you got Peter's kids, May and Richard, and they're talking about this Spider-Man because this is an image from the Daily Bugle that Peter Parker took. So some things are familiar, but lots of things are different. Notice right here, as Peter's doing the dishes, that dishcloth looks a little bit like an old Spidey costume or something, right? That's a nice little touch. The daughter's talking about how Spidey is scary to her. He's like, you know what? I think your brother's pretty smart. Maybe he's not real. Maybe he's not so scary. MJ's there. She starts noticing, hey, have you been working out? And he's like, maybe a little. Things are changing for Peter Parker. In the first issue, all he wanted was to make a change, to change something in his life, to go in a different direction, right? And now it's literally happening. Another thing, very subtle, it's not really brought up or mentioned, he's no longer wearing his glasses. So he's getting a little bit more fit. He doesn't have to wear his glasses. And then we get to an explanation of some of the powers that he has. And I love the way that Jonathan Hickman kind of phrases some of this stuff. He says, I'm super agile. My reaction times and understanding of spatial awareness are off the charts. Really great sequence here of Peter using his abilities. I love the perspective and the angle on that shot from below, but it's just like a cool inversion of the city. That's great. But the one problem he has so far is he doesn't know how to stop, so he crashes in. This book has a lot of bits of humor, so that's another thing that works. It's not forced. It feels natural. You read something like, maybe, I don't want to call anybody out, but you read something like Amazing Spider-Man, and it's like the humor that's in there is rather forced, right? But here, it makes sense, right? And he's also realizing, though, that he can take a beating. So, lots of cool stuff. Now we got J. Jonah Jameson, Uncle Ben. They both worked for the Daily Bugle. Kingpin is the secret money behind the Daily Bugle. He's actually working for this cabal that was set up by the maker, and there are going to be some changes at the Daily Bugle. They weren't cool with it, so they quit. They're going to go off and make their own paper. So they're just kind of discussing some stuff, a nice little cutesy bit of dialogue here, and a little bit of talk about that there's been 3 attacks on Wilson Fisk over the last few weeks. These are attacks from the Green Goblin. We will get the reveal of the ultimate Green Goblin identity in the next issue, but they're basically just talking about that, just talking head stuff. But Checchetto's kind of keeping it interesting a little bit, breaking up some of the empty space with the steam. So that's an interesting little topic right there. And they're talking about how, you know, what's going on. It seems like it's a distraction. The Bugle's running stuff about this new Spider-Man, and they're not talking about the attacks on Wilson Fisk because it's a distraction. So the other thing is a story. It's a really interesting. Jonathan Hickman, the way that he talks about news in books like, for instance, the Nightly News, he's got a very cynical approach there, but here it's that cynical approach, but from a good-natured standpoint of somebody who really wants to change. Another great spread here of just absolute amazing movement, body anatomy, the way that body is twisted in action. It feels fun, it feels free, it feels loose. And Peter's about to come across one of his very first supervillains, who is the Shocker. So he shows up, he's like, hey man, seems like you're trying to rob this bank. That's not a cool idea. And the Shocker's like, you know what? You're right. You're right. You've convinced me. I shouldn't have been doing this. I'm so sorry. And he's like, oh man, you really? He's like, yeah, dude, I owe you. And Peter's like reaching for his hand and just gets the shit blasted out of him because he's very naive. He doesn't know this. He gets shocked off of the building into this dumpster. Really funny stuff. He goes back to his house, grabs some ice cream. They mention that he's been eating like 10,000 calories a day, so I like that little touch. And as he's just munching down on some vanilla ice cream, which is rather vanilla, his daughter walks in. So his daughter walks in, notices it's Spider-Man. He tries to calm her down, and she's like, you know what? It's cool, but, you know, I'll keep this a secret, but I might want some stuff like some ice cream, and maybe she wants to be kind of like his secret confidant. And she starts talking about how she doesn't like his costume. It's a little bit creepy, and he smells like garbage. Then we cut to Wilson Fisk, and he is talking to Monsieur Britain. This is basically Captain Britain, right? He is a part of the Maker's secret council who is running the world, and he even mentions here, we have divided the world amongst us. Oh, my bad, he's British. We have divided the world amongst us, and after that we have divided it further and gifted people like you your little kingdoms. And so you get to play king, Mr. Fisk, for as long as you can hold on to your kingdom. He's talking about, why haven't you been able to do anything about these attacks on you, on your businesses? We put you in charge, so you can play it being a king, right? And I love Wilson's response here, because he goes, this is not some normal man who plays by the normal rules. He is powerful, maybe more powerful than you imagined, but not me. I see the full measure of my land and the full measure of the enemy at my walls, because I do not play king. I am one. That's really great. And along with that look from him is fantastic. Britain shows off, and I think this is Brian Braddock's brother. I don't know. I don't remember. I haven't read Ultimate Invasion in a minute. I need to crack open that trade paperback and reread that. So he's kind of like, I think this is like the evil brother of Captain Britain in the 616, but I could be wrong on that one. But he's like, we've given you great resources. There's Bullseye. I suggest you use them. That's setting up a confrontation between Bullseye and Green Goblin, which we're going to get in the next issue. Peter's sitting there texting his wife. Once again, lots of nice little bits of grit and texture that we get, including the webbing right there, a little bit of splatter effect from Marco Checchetto, breaking up the negative space on the page and making it really work, and a great shot of him just sitting up on top of this giant statue. He's chatting with Mary Jane, saying, I got things to do, and he catches the, not the Prowler, but he catches the Shocker again, now coming out of the bank, having robbed the bank. He shows up again. I love this texture on this black costume. And I love the way he's doing the webbing. So he shoots the webbing in his face. He's like, who are you? He's like, I thought we covered this already. I'm the guy who's going to be stopping people like you. And then he's like, oh man, you hit me too hard. My wife, she needs medical treatments. We can't afford it. This is why I'm doing it. He's like, oh, Peter's getting fooled again. And as he's distracted, gets shocked and blasted off of the building again, into another dumpster. Shocker gets away, but the Green Goblin is watching. I wonder what he's watching for. Maybe we'll find out. I love this costume. By the way, for the Green Goblin, it is like a mix of the Willem Dafoe Green Goblin suit, but like with a little bit more, like this is more of the direction they should have gone in that first Spider-Man movie. Though I do still like that movie. It's just the Green Goblin costume a little bit. So then he comes back home. He thinks, man, maybe I'm not really good at this at all. Maybe I should quit while I'm ahead. Then he sees a note from his daughter with a red and blue Spidey saying, I drew a picture of your spider. I hope you like it. You're the best. Love, May. So then Peter decides to go one more day. Now, the first time that I ever read this book, this was the issue that really grabbed my attention. Issue number 1 I thought was really solid and very fun, but I didn't think it had a lot of action. It didn't really, I don't know, it just didn't really have enough oomph for me to really set it above and beyond as the pick of the week. But it was still a good, solid book. Issue number 2 is where I'm kind of getting to the vibe of this, right? Now, the book kind of has this pace where it goes small, goes big, goes small again. And in issue number 4, as a single issue, it felt kind of disjointed. And it kind of felt like it halted the momentum. This is the kind of issue that speeds up that momentum. You got more of these things in position, in place. There's a scene for Ben and J. Jonah Jameson. There's a scene for Wilson Fisk and everything going on. And in the midst, a really cool, solid tale of Spider-Man trying to figure out what he's supposed to be doing. Great coloring. I love the use of the purples, especially in some of these scenes for the background. Great use of the backgrounds and everything too. Marco Checchetto's artwork is amazing. When he's on this book, it is soaring. There was a different artist on issue number 4. If you want to see more, we'll get into it. But Ultimate Spider-Man number 2, a really solid issue. A lot of continuing the movement and the momentum from the first issue, building these new characters or new iterations of these characters, diving deeper into their world and setting things up for the future. Now that we have read issue number 3 and 4, we can see some of the stuff that was set up here in issue number 2. Hickman's got a plan. His plan hopefully will come to its full fruition and conclusion, unlike some of his X-Men stuff. But so far, Ultimate Spider-Man's been solid. Issue number 2 was a fantastic issue that, to me, definitely improved on issue number 1. Issue number 1 set some stuff up. This starts knocking it down, as well as setting other things up. This is how you pace out a comic with subplots, with drama, with tension, and bring readers in. Even in a slightly decompressed story, you still kind of feel like you get a good, solid comic here with his interactions with Shocker, with his daughter, the Wilson Fisk stuff, the Ben and J. Jonah Jameson stuff. Really solid. So, top-notch book. I like it. What do you think? Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 2, or overall, what do you think about the series? What do you think about this issue? What do you think about the characters? What do you think about this brave new world that Jonathan Hickman has created for Marvel? I'm digging it. I'm loving it. So thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading, y'all. Station.